Some might believe this to be a tired concept, one that's used over and over again, but the reason why it's used so much is because it's an interesting question. What would have happened if Naruto, from the very beginning of the story, knew what was going to happen and had the power to fix it? Not long ago, I made a what if that sort of followed this line of thinking, in that Boruto traveled back in time to be with Naruto, and there things didn't work out that well, but that was because he was Boruto. Boruto did not experience any of the things Naruto had, nor did he have the wisdom of age to know how to properly alter things without ruining everything. But Naruto should have such a thing. It makes me truly wonder what could have happened if Naruto had known from the beginning what would happen and had the power to do something about it. So join me now for a video that I've been hoping to make for a while. What if Naruto was reborn with all of his memories and abilities? Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you're subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Now, to keep in line with Naruto being reborn with all of his powers and abilities, something must happen as well. Kurama too must possess his abilities and memories. To do that without having to rewrite his entire history, I'm planning to use the concept of awakening or possession to explain this. In other words, Kurama continues to act as he always would, but the moment he's sealed into Naruto, Naruto's memories and abilities affect him and make him more agreeable from the start. If I didn't do this, then the title would be a lie, since Kurama at full power would count as some of Naruto's abilities. So with that out of the way, let's begin. On October 10th, Naruto is born. However, as soon as he comes out, the doctors and nurses are astounded because he does not cry. This actually causes a bit of anxiety within Minato and Kushina, who wonder why. The age-old fear all parents must worry about during birth is the fear that their child is stillborn. But the nurses and doctors offer them some peace in telling them that the child is already breathing on its own and it's awake and conscious. They bring the babe to its mother, where Kushina looks into the stark blue of its eyes and lets off a smile. To her surprise, the baby too lets off a smile and a small giggle. Truly astounding. To be fair with you, even though Naruto at this point does maintain his memories, his physical and cognitive functions are still that of a baby, so I wouldn't expect him to simply murder Obito when he shows up. Wouldn't seem right. I know I said he's reborn with all of his abilities and memories, but let's be real. You don't want to see a 5-minute-old baby destroy a veteran of a world war. There's gotta be a limit somewhere. So here is that limit. When Obito does eventually come, Naruto is still helpless to stop him, and this would result in the capture of Kushina and the eventual release of the Nine Tails. During this time, Naruto is overcome with drowsiness because birth is not only rough on the mother, but on the child as well. Minato brings the baby back to their home, where he lays it out on the bed and ensures that he's properly covered and warm, and goes to bring back his mother, which of course he does. He lays Kushina beside Naruto and allows her to cuddle and keep him safe and warm. Despite this, the baby does begin to cry. The reason being, since the memories of the past still exist within its head, even at only a subconscious level, this child knows its mother is going to die, and that brings it pain. It cries, but does not push Kushina away. It displays the need to draw closer to her, but is too feeble to move on its own. Deep down in her heart, Kushina knows what Naruto desires, so she pulls him closer to her to give him his desires and fulfill his needs. But all the same, the original events continue. Naruto witnesses his mother and father facing the Nine Tails, only for them to sacrifice their lives to seal it into the child. The moment that Kurama is sealed into Naruto, it's as if all the memories of the future and everything that would ever happen to him is revealed to him all at once. Immediately, his heart is opened and his mind is calmed. But a few moments earlier, Kurama had believed that this was going to be the worst fate that a tailed beast could suffer, being trapped inside the body of not just any human, but an infant. But now that he was here, some force across space and time had suddenly given him understanding, as if fate had allowed Kurama in that moment to experience a lifetime of memories in the span of a single moment. Kurama was now aware of who and what he and Naruto were. They weren't just a Jinchuriki and its prisoner, they were a dyad. They were friends. As the child cried, he witnessed the feelings in its heart, the language without words that was bred into all of humanity to speak. He heard Naruto's heart. Why did they have to die? Why couldn't I save them? He said to himself as tears rolled down his tiny cheeks. Kurama, coming closer to the energy, offering some of his chakra as a balm, would soothe the child, his heart speaking the only language that they shared. He would tell the infant not to blame himself, and while it was painful, there were some things that needed to happen, and that if they had never sacrificed themselves, Naruto and Kurama would have never met, and Naruto's ability to save the world would be severely hindered. From here, the child is taken by Hiruzen, who would have it raised until it could live on its own. From this point, as Naruto's cognitive functions began to increase, so too does his ability to recall everything. At about the age of 2, his memory recall was to a point that he could read his own life out like a storybook or an omnibus of shonen manga. One day, he simply awakened and possessed over 32 years worth of experience, and with that, Naruto would sigh, "It's so wonderful to be a child again." Naruto continues to live his life, but as he does so, his mood is significantly happier. While it is true that the village still detests him, he continues to live happily, having already seen the ending from the beginning, and so this leaves him with a more happy-go-lucky nature. When Hiruzen comes by, Naruto is far more cordial than he'd normally be. He's kinder, more understanding, and bears a maturity unseen in a child his age, particularly in his situation. This brings Hiruzen a smile, but now Naruto, having reached a certain age, realizes what is going to happen next. Naruto, at this time, is about 6 years old, about a year younger than Sasuke Uchiha. That would mean Sasuke's 7. Why does this matter? It matters because Naruto would recognize that this means the Uchiha clan downfall is about to occur. Since Naruto has a unique position here with Hiruzen, Naruto would request that he make a little time for him during his next visit. Hiruzen, being a kind man, would indulge the child, knowing that he is the closest thing Naruto has to a father figure. An absent grandfather, but he wishes to try his best and feels he owes Naruto this. When Hiruzen sits, Naruto takes a seat nearby and speaks. "Lord Third, what if I told you that I knew everything that was going to happen?" Hiruzen would smile, indulging the game. "I would probably not believe you." Naruto nods, understanding that skepticism was a key aspect to being a shinobi. "What would it take to prove it to you?" Hiruzen thinks. "Infallible truth, something that can only be explained by you knowing everything." Naruto sat back and began to explain something. "Lord Hiruzen, I was reborn." Hiruzen seemed confused, and Naruto continued. "The spirit of Ashura had the power to reincarnate from generation to generation, but who could have guessed that it would let me reincarnate backwards in time?" Hiruzen was already seeming confused. Naruto remembered that Hiruzen at this point would have no clue what he means, so he skipped this part and went straight to the point. "I've been in the future, and I know what it holds. My spirit was reborn into the past to allow me to change things. Very, very soon from now, a tragedy will befall Konoha, and it will center around the Uchiha clan." Hiruzen's attention seemed to be caught by this. Naruto continued. "There's a rebellion forming within the Uchiha clan. Fugaku's the head of this perceived coup. This is not because he does not love the village, but instead feels as though his clan is being persecuted for something they didn't do. The deaths of my parents and the deaths caused by the Nine-Tails." How do you know this?" Hiruzen asked, skeptical of the information. "I know this because I've already lived through it. Very soon the Uchiha will all be murdered. Every single one of them. Not just the men, but the women and the children too. The perpetrator of this will be Itachi Uchiha." Hiruzen scoffs and smiles. "Itachi? I'll admit he's a strong young man and can be capable of cold actions, but his heart is too pure. He's too kind to commit such an atrocity." Hiruzen said with such confidence, seeming almost relieved that this contradiction proved Naruto to be lying. Naruto shook his head. "He will not feel he has a choice, and because of his actions on that night, the emotional turmoil, it will wreak havoc on his body and lead to an untimely death. His reason for committing this atrocity will be to save his little brother, who will become hostage in every sense but physical. Itachi will be blackmailed into doing this. If he does not do it, his little brother Sasuke will be murdered." Hiruzen's eyes seemed disturbed. Naruto was making a lot of sense, but none of this seemed to make any sense in the grand scheme of things. Was Naruto being controlled and told to tell him this? Who was attempting to manipulate him with Naruto? "I think that's enough, Naruto. Tell me who told you these things." Naruto shook his head. "Nobody told me these things. I already experienced them." Hiruzen would stand. "Enough! What you say is impossible." He began to leave. Naruto then called out to him. "Wait!" Hiruzen looked back. Naruto spoke. "I can see you don't believe me and you're tired of this conversation, but I plead with you to at least listen to this last thing." Hiruzen would wait for Naruto to say his piece. "Danzo Shimura is the head of Root, a secret division of the Anbu. He'll soon steal a Sharingan from Shisui Uchiha, which will lead to the latter's sacrifice, and ultimately rob you of the last chance you have of a peaceful solution. Please, stop him." Hiruzen would nod and walk out the door. Of course, Hiruzen had not believed this in the slightest. However, he did keep it in his mind for quite some time, and upon the death of Shisui Uchiha by suicide, in which he claimed to have destroyed his Sharingan to keep it out of the wrong hands, Naruto's words echoed in his mind. Hiruzen would have the Anbu gathered to him where he would confront Danzo. In doing so, he would demand Danzo remove the wrapping around his head, revealing a recently implanted Sharingan, one that contained the jutsu Koro Amatsukami. What Naruto had said was correct. Hiruzen would have Danzo arrested and would have him stripped of his authority. He would then claim the Sharingan from Danzo and would proceed to follow through with Shisui and Itachi's secret plan and would pacify the Uchiha. After this, Hiruzen would offer to remove the Sharingan he had planted into his own head and offer it back to Itachi, claiming that it truly was a power that no single man should have. But Itachi denied this. He said that he believed Hiruzen to be the only man on Earth besides Shisui who was truly worthy of possessing the power of Koro Amatsukami. And so Hiruzen would keep the Sharingan as a sign of his bond with the Uchiha. But due to this, Hiruzen would realize that everything Naruto said was true. He would call Naruto back in and ask more questions, inquiring about the future. Naruto, however, kept a mostly tight lip about it. He would explain to Hiruzen something important. "We're dealing with a butterfly effect," he would say. "Fate is like a river and tends to follow its original course, even if slight deviations are made. Too many deviations at the wrong time can lead to a different course entirely, and if this occurs, not only will my ability to know the future become useless, but it will also result in a negative outcome." Hiruzen nodded in agreement. Naruto leaned forward. "There are some things that need to happen to keep things on course. I have to follow a predetermined path and work judiciously with this power if I wish to preserve peace. In that way, you're going to need to let me work my way. If you wish to help, however, I could use it. Anytime I need something and tell you it's sensitive pertaining to the future, I'll need you to trust me, okay?" Hiruzen would let off a smile, his right eye still wrapped up, containing the Sharingan. "All right, that sounds like a deal." From here, Naruto's life continues down its course. He continues to go to school where he witnesses Sasuke. However, unlike the path Naruto had originally taken, Sasuke was now a far happier child, no darkness festering in his heart. To a point, Naruto wondered what could happen by not allowing Sasuke to experience life the way he had. He worried that somehow this might lead to Sasuke not being fully prepared for the future, or perhaps worse, might lead to Sasuke falling to darkness and not being able to return. But all things considered, Naruto had saved the lives of many Uchiha who, due to the power of Koro Amatsukami, were now fiercely loyal to their village and Hokage. Danzo having been arrested and the truth explained to Hiruzen in a sensitive way, the Uchiha would also be forgiven by the village and allowed to settle back in their original compound. This repaired the damage done to the Leaf's relationship with the Uchiha, and caused the bonds to grow stronger as Hiruzen vowed not to use the Koro Amatsukami again unless absolutely necessary. This made things much happier for the village, and made Naruto believe that Konoha was in safer hands than it had been previously. But still, there were some important personal things Naruto needed to do that weren't on the scale of the village. Things he needed to do for himself to keep on the proper current of time. On one winter day, Naruto decided to take a detour to the school. As he did, he witnessed a little girl being bullied because of the look of her eyes. This girl was Hinata Hyuga, and she was the bearer of the esteemed dojutsu, the Byakugan. They picked on her, laughed at her, and knocked her down, but here comes Naruto. Naruto had to be careful here and act judiciously. He currently possessed enough power and chakra to shatter the entire world, but that would be overkill. He needed to channel only enough power to drive off this group of bullies who were hurting Hinata. In doing so, he needed to focus on not letting his emotions get the better of him. And so he stepped forward to challenge the bullies, displaying enough strength to scare them off without getting hurt. After this, he would turn back and walk to Hinata. As she sat on the ground, she cried. Naruto saw her tears and his heart shattered. He knelt down next to her and removed his gloves. He wiped the tears from her face. "We wouldn't want your tears to freeze to your face now, would we?" She looked up at Naruto, sniffling. Do you think my eyes are ugly?" Naruto smiled and shook his head. "No, I think they're the most beautiful eyes in the world." Hinata's eyes widened as her cheeks began to grow pink. Naruto had to be careful here. He was so madly in love with her that he wanted to compliment her all day long, but he also didn't want to mess up history and overwhelm her. Hinata was a shy and timid person, and if he came on too strongly, he knew for a fact that she would probably pull away. He needed to make her feel comfortable, and so, after helping her to school, he gave her the space she needed. All the same, he couldn't stop watching her. So many times in class, Irika would call him out for staring and daydreaming out the window. Naruto continued to study, though he already knew half the stuff they were trying to teach him. In fact, he actually knew 100% of the stuff they were trying to teach him. And considering that he came from a later time, he actually realized that a portion of what they were teaching in the classes was a bit inaccurate. All the same, despite this, Naruto feigned ignorance, and he pretended to be incapable of doing anything just so they would hold him back for a while. There were things that he needed to do to ensure that everything remained on track. And so, after failing the final exams again, Naruto would be approached by Mizuki. dirty traitor, Naruto thought to himself as he watched. All the same, he knew that to catch Mizuki, he needed to allow Mizuki to incriminate himself, and to do that, Naruto would follow the same line of dialogue as before, acting disappointed in himself and going so far as to put himself down. This would lead to Mizuki proposing that Naruto steal the Scroll of Seals. Naruto would think that it's a wonderful idea, or so he would act. At night, he would sneak into the Hokage's residence, but instead of simply stealing the scroll, he would go straight to Hiruzen and inform him. He would tell Hiruzen that a Chunin named Mizuki had requisitioned him to steal the Scroll of Seals, and that he would try and take it from Naruto to deliver to Orochimaru. Hiruzen asks Naruto what they should do, and Naruto says that he should allow him to take the scroll and should give him some more time before sending the Anbu after him. He tells Hiruzen exactly where he'll lead Mizuki, but says it's important that they wait a little bit, because someone will have some growth that they will need to have for the future. Hiruzen trusts Naruto. After having saved the Uchiha clan, Hiruzen cannot help but trust Naruto. And so Naruto takes the scroll and heads out to the location that he had originally gone to. To keep from seeming sus, Naruto would indeed open the scroll and begin to read it. All things considered, Naruto had read this thing quite a few times during his time as Hokage, so he already knew what was in here. In fact, Naruto had personally added Rasen Shuriken to the scroll during his time. It was strange to see that part of the scroll blank. Part of him wanted to fill the spot here and now, but he knew that it wasn't time for that. Not yet. That was when Mizuki showed up, and just as before, he asked that Naruto give him the scroll, and just as before, Naruto does not. Iruka would show up to defend Naruto, and it's here that through tears, Iruka confesses to Naruto why he was so angry with him, why everyone was so angry with him, and acknowledges that he cannot stay hateful, that he doesn't hate Naruto. You see, Naruto had been through this before, and the greatest fear Naruto had was that his emotional response would be caught lacking due to him already having experienced it once, and is expecting to experience it again. But to Naruto's surprise, tears began to form in his eyes, a feeling from long ago. Something that he thought he had completely gotten over, but no, that feeling in his heart remained and he couldn't help but cry. To recall the strength and love of Iruka, his forgiveness despite his pain. Naruto recalled that it was Iruka who had planted the seeds in his heart. It had been Iruka who had first bucked up against the endless cycle of hatred, and from Iruka, Naruto had learned to do so as well. Coming back to one's roots, it was only here with the benefit of hindsight that one could truly appreciate every hardship and every moment that had crafted him into who he would become. At a certain point, Naruto felt dirty. He felt he was committing some atrocious sin by allowing himself to come back to this point and alter things. He himself, from his moment of birth to his time as Hokage, had known pain, and it was through that pain that he had become who he was. Perhaps he was saving lives, saving the Uchiha, saving Itachi, giving both he and Sasuke the lives they deserved to have, but at the same time, Naruto was removing the pain. He was removing the teachers who brought lessons to their lives. He worried that it not only would affect the future, but that it would nullify much of the growth that Sasuke had gone through, as well as disrespecting the sacrifices that Itachi had to make to get them to this point. Naruto got up and ran. It was then that the Anbu would eventually detain Mizuki and reclaim the Scroll of Seals. Iruka would survive indeed, but the air between he and Naruto had changed, and Naruto couldn't help but see the mentor he had always loved in Iruka fresh and new. After this moment, Naruto knew it was okay to continue down this path. The moment he was able to take the test again, Naruto would ace it with flying colors. It would be then that Naruto would visit Hiruzen and make a special request. For reasons that he had yet to explain, he needed Hiruzen to make a specific team for him. He needed Hiruzen to make his teammates Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno, and he needed their Jonin to be Kakashi Hatake. Knowing better than to doubt Naruto at this point, Hiruzen would grant him this wish. He would allow Naruto to join Team 7. On the day they would meet, Naruto would sit there patient and expecting. He'd forgotten that he originally started off this meeting by playing a prank on Kakashi. Despite that, he did not play a prank this time. He didn't feel it was important. He wished to see Kakashi's reaction without it. As Kakashi entered the room, he would introduce himself to them. From there, they would take their time to introduce themselves to their new Jonin and explain what it is they wanted out of life. As for Kakashi, he told them precious little. Naruto had always wondered why it was that he had done this. Why was it he had wanted to remain secretive? No, that couldn't be, could it? He had always taught them that teamwork was the most important thing, so for him to simply withhold information from them was either a test to show them that they should have unwavering faith in whoever they were teamed up with, regardless of how well they knew each other, or it was something else. That being said, he had forced them to reveal their own likes, dislikes, and dreams, so it was Naruto's opinion that the reason why Kakashi hid these things were for deeply personal reasons. He knew that Kakashi's hobbies included reading hentai, so that was likely one reason why he didn't want to share it with them. As for his likes and dislikes, he said that he did not feel like telling them about it. So if it wasn't because of secrecy, then for what reason would he not tell them? Perhaps it was because he had very few likes and his dislikes consisted of regrets from his past? Only Kakashi himself knew for sure, but to a point, Naruto was surprised, because Kakashi said he had never truly thought about his dreams. Looking at this with the benefit of the future's foresight, Naruto realized how truly lost Kakashi was. He was at this moment only 26 years old and had his whole life ahead of him. He was younger than Naruto had been when he became Hokage. At this moment, despite being physically younger than Kakashi, he was still Kakashi's mental senior by 6 years. That was, unless they were going to count the extra years of his relived childhood, in which Naruto had further grown more mature, making him an extra 12 years, making him Kakashi's senior by 18. This made Naruto really want to give advice to Kakashi, but he knew the team would function better if he kept the truth about his foresight a secret. So Naruto simply allowed his team to go first, something that Naruto himself reflected on. In the past, his first time doing this, Naruto had been so eager to tell everything about himself that he had immediately gone when he had the chance. But now he was silent, desiring to hear his team's dreams first. Something that, even if he hadn't really noticed it, or was too humble to admit, displayed just how much Naruto had grown since then. For the most part, Sakura's introduction to Team 7 remained the same, and why wouldn't it? Naruto had hoped it would. Her love for Sasuke had been Sasuke's guiding light during his time when he was lost to himself, when his hatred had robbed him of identity and left him wondering who he truly was. So to hear that these sentiments did not change was something that really made Naruto smile. As for Sasuke, however, he had changed and was currently beaming a bright smile. The same kind of smile that Naruto had flashed during his time here. Sasuke's introduction was completely refabricated from the ground up. His likes were spending time with his family and training with his brother. His dislikes were bullies who picked on his friends, and his dreams were to become the head of the Konoha police force. That was something that made Naruto smile. Kakashi would turn to Naruto and ask him about himself. Naruto wanted to be honest with this, but as he thought about it, his hopes and aspirations had shifted quite a bit since he had been at this point. He introduced himself by his full name and told his comrades the things he loved. A nice warm bowl of ramen on a cold winter day, the sunrise, witnessing a sudden sundog in the sky, taking it as a god wink in his life to tell him that things were okay. His dislikes generally revolved around him failing to meet the standards that he had set for himself and that others had set for him, which resulted in himself and everyone else being let down. And finally, he spoke of his dreams. To be Hokage was the same cliché dream he'd always had, and so it remained. But further still, his dream had evolved a bit. He wished to be a husband to Hinata and father to Boruto and Himawari. So in the end, his dream had evolved. He wished to be a man of honor and respect, someone who he could say he was proud to be when he was on his deathbed. To leave behind a life without regrets, and to leave behind a world that was slightly better than it was before he was born. Naruto smiled and then looked around to see that the entire team was staring at him in awe. Kakashi because of how mature the dream was, Sasuke because of how simple yet important it was, and Sakura because of how beautiful it was, something she did not neglect to tell him. Kakashi felt optimistic about his new team, but he still needed to see if they could grasp the most important lesson of all in regards to being in a team, which was teamwork. To that end, he initiated the bell test. The rules were simple. Take the bells before lunchtime. No holds barred. As the test began, Naruto was sure to explain to his team the meaning of the test and its importance. He told them that they needed to work together because no one team member could defeat Kakashi alone. This was a lie. Naruto had all the power required to absolutely body Kakashi and take the bells, but that wasn't the point of this exercise. He told them that the point was that the ability to get the bells required their team to work together. And the fact that there were only 2 bells meant only 2 people could pass. This was to teach them sacrifice and selfishness. The concepts were strong and hard to learn, especially considering that the ones who failed to get the bells would be sent back to the academy without a Jonin. Such a horrible fate. Of course, Naruto knew that nobody on their team was actually in danger of that so long as they displayed that they had learned the lesson Kakashi was trying to teach them. But Naruto needed to let them believe that there was still danger, as it was that pressure that not only taught, but showed who a person was deep down. And so Naruto held back a little and left plenty of openings for Kakashi. Not all the openings though. Naruto would never suffer 1,000 years of death again. He was sure not to succeed early as Kakashi still needed to teach them the lesson. Naruto fumbled as much as he could so that Kakashi would name him as the worst of his students and thus forbid him from eating lunch. Naruto sat tied to the stake. He was content knowing that things were playing out just as they should, not just for the sake of the future, but for the sake of his friends right here and now. And just as he had believed, they would start offering him food behind Kakashi's back. This was heartfelt and touching, but also made him proud of them for choosing team over self. They knew that they could get in big trouble if they didn't do as Kakashi had commanded them. Despite this, they still did do so without the thought of themselves. This made Naruto smile. Immediately after they started feeding Naruto, Kakashi rushed out to punish them, but instead of saying anything angry at them or telling them that they had done wrong disobeying them, he instead commended them for choosing team over orders, telling them that this was the essence of teamwork, self-sacrifice. As Naruto thought on this, Naruto couldn't help but think back on the things he knew of Kakashi, and the meaning behind why this test was so important to him. At the end of the day, Naruto found himself standing before the monument to Konoha's heroes. There he found the name Obito Uchiha. He ran his finger across it and knew this name to be connected to so much pain. Pain in Kakashi's past, pain in Naruto's past, and pain in the world's future. Despite everything, he needed to let things run their course. In doing so, he could possibly save the world without having to permanently lose any lives. After all, Obito, even if he did do bad, led to things that would one day become good. All he needed to do was limit the damage he did as much as possible. As Naruto looked at the statue, Kakashi walked up to him. "Do you recognize any of the names on that statue?" Naruto looked back out of the corner of his eye. "A few, Kakashi-sensei. These were true heroes to Konoha, weren't they?" Kakashi nodded. "These are they who sacrificed everything for their village, for their friends. It's no coincidence that I brought you here to perform this test. I had hoped that by bringing you here, the spirits of true heroes might bless you and give you the knowledge and understanding to learn this important lesson. Not everything is free, and sometimes you must pay a price that nobody else can pay. Sometimes the cost is your life, or in my case, the life of a friend. There is such thing as survivor's guilt. Sometimes you have to lose a friend, and you look back and ask why it couldn't have been you instead. But in the end, we all carry our burdens and must be willing to do whatever is necessary to defend the village from harm." Naruto nodded. "The will of fire." Kakashi seemed surprised that Naruto understood the meaning of the will of fire, but he didn't press. He simply likened it to Naruto being incredibly mature and wise for his age. He would put his hand around Naruto's shoulder. "Come on, why don't we go out to eat? You, me, Sakura, and Sasuke, to celebrate the formation of our team." Naruto smiled. "That sounds good." And that seems like the perfect place to pause the story for now. I know you were probably hoping that I would finish it up with a single video, but the truth of the matter is that so many things will change and some things simply won't. The thing about writing a story where the protagonist has all of the power and knowledge he would have at the endgame of the story is that the protagonist will always want to optimize the ending, to make it the happiest it can be, and sometimes that requires tough choices. Sometimes you might have to let something you love go. Sometimes you might need to make a sacrifice. So just because Naruto can change everything doesn't mean he will. Naruto simply wants the best outcome for everyone, and that may require him to let some things he normally would have tried to stop happen. But alas, that's a story for another day. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment and a like if you did, and be sure to tell us what your favorite part was, or any other stories you may wish to hear. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos as they drop. Until next time, peace out.